Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our Parsha is Parshat Bo, and our guest today is Malka Michelle from the Ziegler School. Hello, and thank you for being with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Parshat Bo in the book of Exodus features the final 3 plagues of Egypt, and then the people of Israel's departure from Egypt, and the first Passover celebration. We are not yet at Passover, but we remember this holiday fondly. The first pasuk of the parsha says, "Vayomer Adonai el Moshe bo el Paro ki ani achbadeti et libo ve'et lev avadav leman shiti ototai ele bekirbo." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his courtiers, in order that I may display these my signs among them." So, as I was reading this parsha, I was wondering about something that is not necessarily connected to this parsha directly, and that's the role of the brother. We keep talking about Moses this and Moses that, but he's not alone in this journey of letting the Israelites out of Egypt. So in previous parsha we read the following pasuk. The Lord replied to Moses, "See, I place you in the role of God to Pharaoh, with your brother Aaron as your prophet." What does it mean?
I'm so glad you asked that. I was thinking about the exact same pasuk. In thinking about that pasuk, I remembered something that one of my teachers of Chumash, David Friedman, always says. So the translation prophet into English is somewhat misleading, I find, because it has no connection to the Hebrew word. In that pasuk, it's neviecha. Right? And so the Hebrew word is navi, and which means to bring forth. And of course, in Tanakh, what do prophets do? They bring forth God's perspective on a certain issue. So when we look at the role of Aaron in this whole saga of the Exodus, he's almost bringing forth Moshe. He's helping Moshe to bring forth the people. Aaron is someone who the people recognize. They don't recognize Moshe. They think of him as an Egyptian almost.
Right, because he was brought up in the palace.
Right, and also this is not in this parasha, but I think it's so interesting that when Moshe encounters the daughters of Yitro, they refer to him as Ish Mitzri, like an Egyptian man too.
Right.
So I think Aaron is really integral in like bringing Moshe forth and helping the people to recognize him as one of their own.
Right. So he's the mediator between Moshe and the people, but does he also have a role vis-a-vis Pharaoh? Because we know that Moshe couldn't speak very well, and Aaron is provided, his translator, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true. That's another way in which Aaron brings Moshe forth, in that he brings Moshe's words to the people and to Pharaoh. Yeah.
Right. And when Torah tells us that Aaron is a Navi, you said correctly that Navi and a prophet is not exactly the same thing. Does it elevate him in some way to the level of Moshe, or is he on a entirely different scale of importance?
I don't know if it's fair to compare the two brothers. I, as someone who has multiple siblings, I know I don't ever like being compared to my siblings. So I think in fairness to Haron, I'm not sure it's fair to compare. I would say he is of equal and different importance to Moshe, because I think it's also worthwhile remembering that Aaron is the progenitor of the Kohanim, the priests that are going to be so critical to us when we actually come into Eretz Israel and when we start setting up shop there, so to speak, as a people and doing our job. And he's I was also thinking about how you can look at Moshe and Aharon as kind of the dichotomy between like chesed and gvura, like mercy and sort of strength. I guess you would translate that as.
Right.
And like Aaron is so much chesed. He's too much chesed. He, in fact, like, what does he do when the people start getting restless? When Moshe is up on the mountain, he's like, okay, fine, like, the golden calf happens, you know? It's like he doesn't have enough gvura, enough strength to say no, just wait.
And we know that the tradition of Aaron is a tradition of a peace-loving person.
Right, yeah.
He seeks peace always.
Right, and it backfired on him in that case. And yet, he still has something important to contribute because the Kohanim come from his line. So I think he's a great model. I think he's a great model of what it can mean to do tshuva, because Aaron teaches us that nobody is beyond redemption. That even though he facilitated in a way this really significant falling out between us and God, he still was able to be the father of the priesthood. So God still recognized that he had something significant to contribute.
Right. When I read the Torah, I always get the sense that all of these important figures remain pretty much detached from us. They remain a riddle. But with Aaron, I think it's especially true. We know very little about him. We get a very little sense of who he is as a person, as a leader, as a brother. Do you get the same feeling?
Yeah, it's true. What does he do when his two sons are killed? He's silent. And we certainly don't get to know what he's thinking. And yeah, absolutely. An
unfair question between him and Moses, which of the two do you like more?
Oh, man. I'm always the person who resists choosing a favorite. I like them more depending. I like Moshe more depending on the context, and I like Aharon more depending on the context. Because I think, they're going back to the idea of chesed and gevura. Sometimes their roles switch. Like sometimes Aharon is more gevura, like especially when he's bringing forth the words to Pharaoh. That is when he's stepping into a role of gevura, right? And then Moshe is the one who's in the background. I think so. It depends on the context.
Well, we are leaving our viewers and listeners with a question to think about as they read the dramatic parsha of Bo. It's really one of the most dramatic parshas in all of the Torah. So we should right. So we should tell them to now go and read the parsha and think about Moshe and Aaron as they read. Thank you so much, Malka, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.